and welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Michael Ayala. As you know, we're monitoring a number of trials today here on Court TV. Well, the latest breaking news is that a verdict was rendered in the case involving former President Donald Trump. He was found guilty on all charges. He was facing 34 different counts relating to election fraud, tax falsifying of business records, tax fraud, and a number of other charges. I will say this, there are a number of options for the judge as far as sentencing is concerned. There is jail time on the table. Not sure if that'll happen in this case. The possibility of house arrest is on the table as well as probation. We do know that he is the presumptive Republican elector for president. So the judge is going to have to take that into account if he wants to hit the campaign trail. So we'll continue to follow that case. We'll get that to you in just a minute. Right now, where are we going? We're going to Karen Swift. All right, let me bring in Michael Jafer very quickly. Michael, I want to get your reaction to that verdict there in New York. Donald Trump found guilty of all charges.
Completely unprecedented. What do we do now? Is he going to stay out on bond? Is he going to be sentenced to jail? If he's eventually sentenced to jail, which jail is on the table, do you take the Secret Service into jail with him? Because he can't be in general population. So I'm flabbergasted. This is unprecedented. I'm going to be glued to the TV. I want to see what happens. But yeah, this is completely unprecedented. I have no idea what this judge is going to do.
Now, Mike, I will say this. He violated the gag order in the case, I think 9 times, 8 or 9 times. And the judge on a number of occasions said, look, if you don't stop, I'm going to throw you to jail. And he kept saying, I don't want to do that. He eventually, of course, didn't do that. I don't think he wants to send someone like Donald Trump to jail. Again, we do know there are a number of political implications as far as that goes. And as I said, there are options: house arrest, probation. This is the type of case where that may be very much appropriate. So those could be possibilities.
Even though the judge cannot consider what's beneficial for the broad population society, he's going to have to in this case, because if he puts house arrest, for example, that you can't campaign 5 months out of a presidential election, some people saying the most important presidential election in their lifetime, right? So house arrest means he can't campaign. So the half of the country that really believes that this is a conspiracy is going to be now even more emboldened. So all of this is on this judge's shoulders. This judge, in addition to getting death threats and people harassing it outside, there's a scene outside of the courthouse, right? So it's going to be very, very, very challenging for this judge to concoct some sort of a now he's got to sentence him. What does he do?
Yeah, that's a big question. Folks, if you're just joining us, we just learned moments ago that former President Donald Trump was found guilty on all charges in his historic hush money trial going on in New York. And again, the question is, what happens next? Of course, jail time is on the table. House arrest, probation are also on the table for the former president. But again, also he's, again, the presumptive elector or presumptive nominee for president for the Republican Party. So that has to, again, be taken into account. This morning, when they did the readback, really they asked for it yesterday. In my experience here at Court TV, whenever there's a readback, Michael, shortly thereafter, the jury delivers a verdict, because really what they have is a question that needs to be answered, and generally that readback will answer that question. They go in, discuss it, and then have a verdict. It seems like that might have been what happened.
I think that's exactly what happened. I was very puzzled by the fact that the judge did not give them a copy of the jury instructions. They just went into the box, and he read the jury instructions, and they remember. Even I can't remember the jury instructions. I have to circle back to them. So you are right. When they do a readback, usually the verdict comes right after that, because they're trying to clarify an actual legal point. These are not professionals, right? These are people who are doing a civic duty, and they're sitting on a jury. This is the only time they've done it in their lives. And so when they ask for a readback, usually it's because they're trying to overcome, there's 2 or 3 jurors in the box, they're trying to overcome a specific issue, they debate, they need it read back, and then they make a decision.
Yeah. I thought this might have been a referendum on the testimony of Michael Cohen. But as you know, in a case like this, you can't convict on accomplice testimony. So just on his testimony, you couldn't convict. What he said in court was enough to convict, which is why I thought the Pecker testimony, the gentleman who ran or was in charge of the editorial for National Enquirer, his testimony was so important because it corroborated, at least to some extent, Michael Cohen's testimony. And that's why when they asked for that readback, I thought it might have been a done deal.
I think so. I agree, because when Michael Cohen was testifying, right, this is a person who had direct knowledge. He had the most intimate type of professional relationship you could have with the defendant as their attorney. I don't recall the last time an attorney was testifying against his former client. And I'm sure it's happened, but when that happens, you go numb. You get goosebumps because, oh my God, you tell everything to your attorney, right? But then the corroboration by the National Enquirer witness, that pretty much sealed it. I have my opinions, but in hindsight, it looks like you're right. That's what happened.
Yeah, and you know, Michael Cohen was the shadowy, shady character, right? We all know that. And there was a question as to whether this jury would even believe him. The prosecution, you know, had to call him. And you're a trial attorney, so you know this. When you're dealing with these type of shady and shadowy situations, you got to deal with shady and shadowy characters. Yeah. And I think maybe the jury took that into account.
Most attorneys, and some of the most successful ones, had theater majors, right? I don't know what his undergraduate, but you're an actor. You're in an arena, and he knew exactly how to act. And again, he had first-hand knowledge. This was my client, and he abused me. He made me go out and fix stuff for him, right? And we all have watched Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. That's who this guy is. He's the Better Call Saul guy.
Yeah, the guy who's willing to do just about anything, right? Because you can use your law degree in many, many ways. I was told that by a mentor very early on, and you're going to choose the path that's most right. That's what he used to say to me. You know, at the end of the day, they needed to find that he aided and abetted in this conspiracy, right? The idea that he wanted to block the election or block someone from attaining office. That was a violation of the New York election law at the end of the day. Do you think they got there with this? Because not only, a lot of people thought the problem with the prosecution's case was they couldn't prove that he actually knew what was going on, or he, you know, had someone do it, or aided and abetted someone, or encouraged someone to do this.
Donald Trump was standing on very solid legal ground, right? He could come back and say, this is my attorney. I trusted him to know better and to know what to do and what not to do. I believed in him. I had a deep relationship with him, and so I believed that he was doing things according to the law. I'm not an attorney, and so I believe he stood on solid legal ground in his defense, right? But at the end of the day, you know, you're this wealthy billionaire. You hire a young attorney and you pay him gobs of money. He looks up to you. You're running for president. The jury must have believed that Donald Trump was the person in control, and Michael Cohen had no intelligence, no intellect, was just doing. So to me, that's why it was difficult. I didn't get there because there was an attorney as a buffer. If there was a banker and you were instructing your banker to make these payments, easier case at that point.
Yeah. If you're just joining us, folks, once again, just moments ago, all right, actually, I think we have a live shot of the president talking outside of the courthouse right now. So let's go out there live.
You have a Soros-backed DA and the whole thing. We didn't do a thing wrong. I'm a very innocent man, and it's okay. I'm fighting for our country. I'm fighting for our Constitution. Our whole country is being rigged right now. This was done by the Biden administration in order to wound or hurt an opponent, a political opponent, and I think it's just a disgrace. And we'll keep fighting. We'll fight till the end, and we'll win, because our country's gone to hell. We don't have the same country anymore. We have a divided mess. We're a nation in decline, serious decline. Millions and millions of people pouring into our country right now, from prisons and from mental institutions, terrorists, and they're taking over our country. We have a country that's in big trouble. But this was a rigged decision right from day one, with a conflicted judge who should have never been allowed to try this case, never. And we will fight for our Constitution. This is long from over. Thank you very much.
Why should voters vote for convicted felons?
Are you going to draw that out? You believe the rule of law? You trust the jury?
All right, so that was Donald Trump reacting to the verdict today as he was found guilty on all charges by a New York City jury. And again, he called himself an innocent man. He's done that throughout, even as far as the allegations within the trial of having these affairs with other women. The whole country is rigged, is something he said, and pointed to the trial perhaps being rigged, and that we will keep fighting. Michael Jaffer, I know that probably means he's going to appeal. Yeah. I mean, probably. He definitely will appeal this. Since a lot of people feel like there are a lot of appealable issues in this case.
Oh, he has to appeal. He has no choice but to appeal. And you know what I'd be looking for is whether or not the appellate system will ramp into quick mode to get the appeal done before the election, which if it's a normal, if we're in a normal, non-bizarre world at this point, this appeal would not be decided for at least another year. He's going to have to appeal. It's going to be crazy pandemonium to see how this case shakes out, and now how the other indictments.
I mean, the appeals court has an option, Michael, because again, you do have the election coming up. They could punt it down the road and say, we'll deal with this after the election. Again, the reason why this was an historic hush money trial, as we called it, was the first time a former sitting president of the United States has been convicted of a crime, and a felony, no less. So they could certainly look at it and say, you know what? Let's not deal with this right now. Let's let this go, and we'll deal with it after the election. Is that a possibility?
It is a possibility, and you know what's coming to me right now? This is not a federal situation. Like, he won't be able to pardon himself if he becomes president, right? So if he wins the election, he won't be able to pardon himself. So he'll still have to face the music on this. And so, yeah, if the appeals court does the right thing, they will punt this until after the election. You don't want to get involved in an election by deciding the week before the election, hey, no, the appeal is denied, you know, we're bringing this back down, which then he can appeal to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, again, you know, we've seen the politicization of courts, and I think when they can avoid it, they will. So that's definitely a possibility here. One of the interesting things about this case, and you talked about them not having the jury instructions, what they did have, though, was all the evidence on a computer. They had a couple of IT guys on the jury who agreed to volunteer to handle dealing with all the evidence, but it went all back with them. What are your thoughts on that?
I think the more evidence, the more access you give jurors, the better. Again, that's why I was so bothered by not giving them the jury instruction, because the jury instruction is their job, right? Their job is to fit within the jury instruction, right? So why not give them the jury instruction for such a complicated, unprecedented case? Right? But yeah, the IT guys and them having access to the computer, they're going to have to, because this is a very complicated fact pattern because it's so nuanced. So I think that was a good thing.
Yeah. Now, as far as bringing this prosecution in the first place, of course, again, a lot of politics behind this. Are you of the mind that this might have been a politically motivated prosecution, or was this a legitimate prosecution that needed to, in the name of justice, be brought?
My opinion is this was highly politicized and it should not have been brought. I was trying to look at precedents where somebody not called Donald Trump was indicted on similar factual basis. I could not find one. Now, somebody could correct me and say, hey, no, there was just one guy back in 1978, right, from the Nixon administration. They could say that, but I could not find a precedent for this charge. It's so mincing word. This is the old adage that's said under the record, which is, show me the man, I'll show you the crime. Everyone commits a felony every single day without them knowing it. It had that tinge to it.
Yeah, a lot of people feel the same way. All right, stand by, Michael. What I want to do now is I want to turn to Court TV senior producer Emanuela Grinberg. She has been on the ground at this trial. She joins us now on the phone. She's outside the courthouse now in New York. Emanuela, what can you tell us?
Well, you know, the verdicts have been announced, 34 counts, guilty on all counts, and you could see the crowd in the park that has been holding court throughout this process just erupted and screamed. You know that there were some supporters in those screams. There was and a few Trump detractors. But really, you know, the media is outnumbering everyone here. And that's why I'm on the phone, unfortunately, because there's so much signal traffic going on. But you have helicopters going over the scene. There's a, you know, increased police presence that started building up about, 30 minutes as soon as we started hearing rumblings of a verdict. And, I think we just saw the courtroom reporters running out of the courthouse, getting ready to get to their live shots and report on the latest. We know that before Mr. Trump came out to speak to the cameras, there was a motion to set aside the verdict by his defense that was denied. And so now we look ahead to sentencing.
So it looks like since he was able to deliver a statement outside the courthouse, Emanuela, he is being released pending sentencing?
Yes, that's what it appears to be the case. And as we were talking about earlier, seemed it was a pretty high bar to reach to consider holding him. This is, these are serious crimes, but not the kind that you typically hold people in custody for. There's no mandatory jail time. The most he could face is 1 year and 3 to 6 months in custody. So there was never a huge chance that he was going to stay in or be, remanded to custody after this verdict.
Emanuela, were you able to see how the former president reacted to the reading of the verdict? Were you inside the courtroom for that?
I was not, but our Scripps colleague, Alex Miller, who has been here throughout the trial, reported that he was just stone-faced, stone cold, no reaction, no emotion, and that really probably a lot more reaction and emotion from the people in the park across the street.
And finally, Emanuela, I'll let you go after this. Do we know when sentencing is expected to take place?
No word on that yet, but as soon as we do, we'll bring it to you.
All right, Emanuela Grinberg reporting from New York City, a Court TV senior producer. Thank you so much for that report. Once again, if you're just joining us, former President Donald Trump found guilty on all 34 counts by a New York City jury. He did take to the podium after the trial, said he was an innocent man and that he will continue to fight.